Welcome to the Rise Up podcast, where we explore the stories of business leaders rising above challenges and driving innovation. I am super pumped. Joining us here in the Wonder Tree studio today is Dan Seay, owner of Hub City Body Shop. Dan, welcome to the Rise Up podcast.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, good to have you here. So I always like to kind of start with history and where you are. You Lubbock native, or did you migrate here like myself and many others?
Yeah, my family's from Ruidoso, New Mexico.
Nice.
That's where I grew up. I was very fortunate to be able to grow up in that environment.
Yeah.
But I went to school at WT in Canyon and eventually made our way to Lubbock.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you, this always fascinates me. My wife is a Lubbock native. I was not. And for years, probably the first 3 or 4 years we lived here, she would tell me, you have to go to the mountains in Ruidoso. It's fantastic. So I'm super excited. First time we go there. And I kind of mentioned you off air. I'm kind of into linguistics and enunciation. I'm curious, fascinated by that. We're driving into town and I see the sign, Ruidoso. And I said, what's the name of this town again? Ruidoso. I was like, wait, say that one more time. I'm like, where are you getting the A from? She goes, that's what we call it. So tell me, as someone from there, where do we get the A in this name from?
That's a Texas thing.
Okay.
Half of Ruidoso back when I was growing up was from West Texas.
Okay, yeah.
We loved our Texans for, the
Bring in some economy, shop and
Absolutely.
spend money. Absolutely.
But we also loved our time between the race season and the ski season.
Yes.
So we could get our town back to ourselves for a little while.
That's so good. That's so good, man. And what a great place. And it's been hit hard.
It has.
My wife's family bought a house there that we've got to be a part of, and whew, it's been challenging. And my prayers and thoughts, and send money, go shop and spend money in Ruidoso, people.
Absolutely. They can use the help.
Yep. So you did some WT stuff and then made your way into Lubbock.
Well, I went to school at WT, and I went to school to coach and teach.
Yep.
I wanted to be a coach.
Yep.
But I did some student teaching at Caprock High School in Amarillo. And when I graduated, I looked like I was about 16 years old.
Sure.
So the dynamics it was uncomfortable and didn't work well at the time. So I thought, what, I'll come back to this. And I went off and did some other things. I worked for a small business lobby group for a while. And while I was doing that, I went into a roofing company and tried to sell a membership to this lobby group to the owner. And he had known me from working at a car wash when I was in college.
Yep.
He had seen me work before, knew the owner of that business, and said, I know you, and I know you're a good worker. Would you be, consider coming to work for me?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know anything about roofing.
Yeah, that's right.
So he said, you don't need to, but I need you as a salesman.
Wow.
So I went to work for that roofing company, and about 6 months into it, I was very green. He let the manager go and turned me into the manager of an entire residential roofing.
Wow.
So, and then we had a hailstorm 3 months after that.
Oh my goodness.
So it was trial by fire.
What?
And so I did that for about 6 years there in
Yeah.
Amarillo, and then I decided I wanted to try my hand at being a business owner.
Yep.
So I moved to Dallas and started a roofing company there, and turned out it was not exactly what I expected.
Yeah.
The competition was fierce. The prices were a lot lower. It was not what I was expecting up in Amarillo. We had really good pricing, and the environment was different.
Yep.
A lot more friendly.
Yes.
And
That was a little cutthroat.
it was a very hard environment to thrive in. So I did do that for about 4 years. Of course, I was hail chasing most of the time because the environment, I could go to other smaller places and do a lot better. So I spent a lot of time away from the family. And about 4 years into it, my wife was like, is this really worth it?
Yeah.
And my father, he had been a banker in Ruidoso in New Mexico for 30 years.
Wow.
And all of a sudden he decided he wanted to do something new, something different. He had always had race cars and rebuilt cars.
Yeah.
I always enjoyed doing that. So he had hot rods all the time. So he thought, you know what, I'll turn my passion into my new career.
Yeah.
So he purchased a franchise. It was a Mako.
Yep.
And he started that back in 2005.
Was that in Ruidoso?
No, he moved to Lubbock.
Okay.
Needed a bigger population.
Yes. Yep.
And so that's what he did. He decided to move to Lubbock and do that. And that was when I was roofing. And for 2 years, we never got to see each other.
Yeah.
I mean, he drove down for a afternoon lunch to Dallas and went home that afternoon.
Yep.
And that was the extent. So it got to where we weren't ever able to be a family that much anymore. But we decided that that the time away from the family wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
We needed to figure something else out. So we decided, Dad invited me to come down and be a part of what he had started. And he had bit off something that was pretty hard to chew.
Yeah.
Starting in a new industry wasn't exactly what he thought it was.
Yep.
He thought he was going to be working on his cars. And he wasn't. It was a franchise that was unique that nobody from around here was used to. It was a labor-intensive business that it does well in competitive environments. In Lubbock, it wasn't that well. So we had a 15-year agreement with Mako to keep this franchise. So we worked really hard to fight through it. There was a lot of times where we weren't sure if the bank was going to come get the keys or not. But Dad, he put everything he had into it, and we were able to survive that franchise agreement. And after 15 years, we were able to go ahead and end that.
Yep.
And Dad he hung up the keys. He went ahead and retired.
He's like, I'm down.
So he had enough. But during that last 5 years of our Makos are known for paint jobs.
Yep.
They do paint jobs. They don't really do a lot of collision work, insurance work, and things like that. So over that last 5 years of our franchise, we realized that we probably weren't going to be a Mako anymore.
Yep.
So we started developing, our collision techniques and doing a lot more training and focusing more in that direction. So when we were able to get out of the franchise agreement, Dad felt comfortable that we had the business where we needed to go to be a strictly, collision center. So, he retired and we started Hub City Body Shop.
And when was that?
That was 4 years ago now.
Yep.
So, as a family, we've been doing this. I keep on talking about Mom and Dad, but I also have my little sister that works with us.
Oh, wow.
Cousin Chad.
Oh, my goodness.
My kids have worked with us all.
Wow.
So it's really a family business. We're all putting into it.
I love that.
But, we've been doing this for 20 years now here in Lubbock.
Yeah.
And we've got a great customer base. This last 4 years have been phenomenal for us.
Yeah.
We kind of hit we had perfect timing.
Yep.
Because as we came out of the Mako franchise and we started Hub City Body Shop, it was a little scary because all of a sudden we changed names.
Yep.
Are they going to recognize us as the Seys? Is that going to be Roy's son?
Yep.
All of those things were kind of up in the air. And in our industry right now, the big trend is for insurance companies have a lot of control over our industry.
Sure. They're the ones writing the check.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So there's a tendency right now in most markets where big MSOs, multiple shop organizations, operations, which are big corporate businesses.
Caliber,
Crash Champions.
Yep.
These companies make they make agreements with the insurance companies to do things for less, do less things.
Sure.
So they drive the cost down a little bit, makes it a little tough on us. And they make these agreements and it makes it a little tough on us. At first I was concerned, but then, Collision King was kind of the king of collision here in Lubbock for many years. Well, they got bought out by one of the MSOs.
Yeah.
So Crash Champions came into town.
Yep.
And
were they the ones that bought out Collision King?
Yeah,
Crash
bought out
Champions?
Collision King.
Yep.
So I was fortunate enough, that last year before they closed, they were bought out. Stephen Tisdale was the owner there.
Yep.
Really neat guy, super fantastic guy, and he was an open book. He shared everything, anything that he wanted to help. He wanted to see us thrive and grow. So he shared a lot with us, and we, I wanted to be, like Collision King.
Yep.
So it's really neat now because after Crash Champions bought Collision King, it really wasn't the same. People can walk in and they tell it's a big corporation and they don't relate.
In Lubbock, Texas, people recognize the corporate versus the local.
Absolutely.
It's fascinating. You go to Dallas, you go to big cities, and either the recognition or the value in the local is either not apparent, it's not there. Sometimes we want more of the corporate than the local. Not so out here.
Absolutely. I mean, we are so so blessed that we live in Lubbock because people still care about who they do work
They do. They do.
and they're recognizing, um, that's kind of crazy because our name, Hub City Body Shop, really came from Hub City Body Works. Hub City Body Works was it in
Yep.
Lubbock for years and years and years. It was down off of 50th Street. Well, a company came in with some old money and started a body shop called Paceline, which they built a few locations that sold to Gerber.
Yep.
And when my dad, started realizing that we wouldn't be a Mako anymore, when Bob Young was still around, who owned Hub City Body Works, he asked him, "What do you think about us picking that name up?" And he said, "Well, yeah, as long as you treat the name right, and,
That's good.
that would be a great move." So I really wasn't keen on the idea because I wanted to make our own.
Sure.
I didn't want to, do that. But even Stephen Tisdale said, "You would be crazy if you didn't. That's a great opportunity. Use the name. It's a great name. It's already got a good reputation.
Yep.
Just build it up." So that's what we did. And it turned out to be, a fantastic name.
Yep. You've said so many things. I'm going to revisit some of this stuff because, man, a lot of great stuff that I think people will really receive from. One of the first things I heard you say, Ron, is you went from teaching and coaching, worked for a lobby group, and then you were kind of, hey, how about coming to work for a roofing shop doing some sales? We had on one of our previous podcasts we just recorded an electrical engineer, brilliant engineering mechanical mind, Scott Clark of Brandon and Clark. And he said, all right, and this is a guy who lives in the building, fixing, analyzing, creating stuff world. Really, really good at it. Really, really intelligent. He said, I think the number one skill set everyone needs to learn is a sales skill. The communication skills, the problem solving skills, the conflict resolution skills, the casting vision skills. And you said, hey, roofing company, come take a sales job. How valuable was that learning lesson of cultivating sales skills, customer facing skills, selling, rejection, all of that stuff?
I learned a lot through that sales job. Probably the one that I learned the most from was my small business lobby group.
Yeah.
It was, I heard a lot of no's, and it was a tough job because I was going into business owners' offices. I was going in asking for the owner every day and asking to separate them from their money.
Yeah.
And they have, now I know they have 10, 15, 20 people asking for the same thing every day. You got to decide where your money's going, what's going to be worth it. And, so it's hard. You get to where you hear somebody come in, is the owner here?
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, here we go.
Because they come into your shop.
Absolutely. Every day.
I'd come into your shop. Hey, Dan, let me tell you about this thing I want, it's part of it.
So yeah, that was a great learning way because I heard a lot of no's and they were tough sales. It was tough. And then going into the roofing side of things, I got to develop more, and this is how we do at Hub City Body Shop is a lot more relationships, lifetime relationships. When we're doing your roof, we're not planning on just doing it once. We're here forever.
That's right.
We're your roofer.
There's a hailstorm in 2023, and guess what just happened in 2025?
It's time to do an addition. Time to whatever. We're your roofer for life, and you develop those relationships. And it's the same thing in the body shop business. We everybody that walks in, we plan on you're going to be our customer for life.
Yep.
So. And we want happy customers.
No, that's good. You said something else too, as you were in the season, going to the Metroplex, starting up your own business, time away from the family. Your wife and I think maybe your father had similar things to say of like, is this really worth it? And I think that question right there is probably undervalued in a society and a culture, which is, I think, constantly preaching and pushing more, go, get, solve, build, right? Again, and I'm not saying those are bad things. And I'm maybe preaching to myself here for a moment, but it's like, I feel like as I've aged and experienced life a little bit, I'm asking myself the question, is what I'm attaching myself to, because I'm given my time, my energy, mental, physical, emotional, financial resources, is this worth it?
Yeah.
I mean, I may get $1 billion back from it. Whoop-dee. But is that worth it? Right? And that's an exaggeration because some people would go, oh, you want $1 billion. But I would even question, was that worth it?
Absolutely. That, that was the decision that had us leave, the Metroplex. We had a really nice home. right outside of Frisco. We had nice cars, we had nice
Yeah.
things, but the rat race that it took
Oh, man.
for us to maintain that, was it worth it? You know, when she finally asked me, and I stopped to think about it because I never had time to think.
She didn't have time to stop.
I had the tiger by the tail, you know?
Yes.
You know, so when she asked me that, you know, I really started thinking, you know, how many baseball games have I missed? How many basketball games have I missed? How many, you know, I was in Brownwood, Texas in a hailstorm working that when my son had his 4th birthday. I
Yeah.
couldn't make it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I should have made it.
Yeah.
And that's one of my biggest regrets. I think about it all the time
Yeah.
that I missed that one birthday. How could I have done that? So, you know, it was definitely, you know, when I sat down and thought about it, and my wife held my feet to the
Yes.
fire, is it worth it really? And then, you know, that was an easy decision.
I'm gonna tell you, if we just stopped right here and our listeners just heard that message, I really think there are some people out there that are feeling the weight of the rat race of running after stuff. And if you will just give yourself, and this is maybe the hardest thing to do, give yourself permission and then create the time and space to think, is it worth it? I'm getting ready to lead a kind of a masterminding 1-2 day retreat for a bunch of kind of business leaders. And part of the purpose of this is just to stop the constant, grind of what we're all living in, not really to fill them up with a whole bunch of great leadership and problem solving and troubleshooting. We'll do that, but it's just to create some space that maybe those really important reflective questions can kind of bubble up, and they can look at their business, look at their marriages, look at their life and go, am I, am I investing in the things that really matter? Because you hit it exactly. I remember when we were married for over 10 years before we had kids. We were just busy running after stuff, doing a lot of things that we love, passionate about. And then we're like, oh, we're getting kind of old. We should have some kids. And so I remember I love early mornings. I still do. I'd start meetings at 6 in the morning, and it was just, I'm productive and getting stuff done. And I remember when our girls were born, I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to remember a single highly productive 6:30 a.m. meeting. I will remember waking up, spending time with my girls, taking them to school every single day, and then getting my day started a little bit later.
Yeah.
Right? I just felt this real conviction around that's what matters. And so I'm going to shift my time, my schedule. I may not be as productive. And of course, you always are. You're going to get stuff done.
Yeah.
So I'm harping on this because I think that is so good, Dan. Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
So, and then I heard you also kind of talk about, you hit the right timing because again, some of the businesses were selling, corporate coming in, and really the relationships you had established here locally really kind of allowed you to flourish. So tell me today, what have you found? How do you acquire customers? How do you maintain customers? What's kind of the vision of customer service, customer interaction, market cycles? What does it look like for you and your leadership, and what's worked well for you? What hasn't worked well?
Well, you know, luckily we had a very good customer base. We had 16 years basically,
Yes.
same out of
Yep.
Mako, of people that knew us. And we've got customers from the Panhandle to Eastern New Mexico,
Yep.
Midland. You know, we've got a really good customer base already. But when we came out of that, there was that little bit of fear of, are they going to recognize me as
Sure.
Roy's son?
Sure.
Are they going to recognize the Seay family? So I started advertising. And when we were Mako, we didn't really do a lot of advertising.
Yep.
I started advertising through television, radio, billboards, a lot.
Yep.
And
Was that make you nervous knowing, all right, I'm going to write a check, a bigger check than I've ever written before, and I'm going to ask the question, did you know what was going to come back from that? The ROI, the amount of sales, or was it kind of like a little bit of a leap of faith?
you know, before, I have a buddy named Case that came in, and he works for KLBKK Max,
Yep.
and he offered, you know, some ideas to me. Before he came in, the biggest campaign we did was on Rock 101. It was the most affordable
Yep.
spot that I could get.
Yeah.
You know, and we did that, and when we wrote that check, it was like, "Oh my goodness."
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Well, now all of a sudden, Case came in, and they listened to me, they saw my vision. "We can help you. We can get you in front of people." People wanna hear that,
Yep.
you know? And, I felt like, okay, you know, that was one of my things. How many cars do we have to do? How many customers do I have to land
That's
to be
good.
able to pay for that
That's a great
advertising?
measurement.
But we took a leap of faith. Luckily, they have a program where you can buy unsold programming.
Okay.
So commercials that just didn't get sold yet,
Yep.
and they sell it off a lot cheaper.
Yep.
And we were able to do a contract like that. And all of a sudden, number one, they did a really nice commercial for us, and it turned out really good. And people, started noticing it, and they were like, "Hub City Body Shop, who is that?"
Yep.
And then when they got there, "Oh, you're the Mako." So,
Yes.
it kinda started
Yep.
working that way. My television ads, responded well. I found that billboards responded
Yeah.
well.
Yep.
And in this day and age, there's so much technology, tracking
Yes.
that it's amazing what you kinda know where your dollars are
I was
going.
just gonna say, and as a business owner, you want to know, how are my dollars working for me? My labor dollars, my material dollars, my marketing dollars.
It's almost creepy how intelligent they are now, because
Yes.
you can really narrow down to age brackets,
Yes.
income
Yes.
brackets,
Yep.
where they live, what kind of dog food they use. I mean, they can narrow it down
Yep.
very
Yep.
finely.
Yep.
And so at this point, yeah, we actually spend a lot of money on advertising, but we really focus on local,
Yep.
family,
Yep.
and that we care.
Yeah.
And we do. These are all things that,
Yep. It's not just
very
lip
important to us.
service.
Absolutely
Yep.
not. So when
Yep.
they come in, that's the most important thing. We wanna greet them. We wanna make them feel like family, and we wanna keep them. That way, they're a customer for life.
Well, that's exactly right. You maximize the ROI. Not that they're an ROI, but as a measurement, when you keep them, you
Absolutely.
service them today, tomorrow. I mean, we're in mid-ish June. Lubbock, West Texas, had a pretty significant weather event, hailstorm event. Does that drive a little bit of an increase in stuff, or is that just like, it's just some seasons have more or less? What does that do
No,
for?
that it's definitely an increase in sales. It turns into the wild, wild west around here when we have hailstorms like this.
Yep.
And one thing that I would encourage everybody to do, no matter if it's auto, home, whatever you're doing, keep your money local.
Yeah, that's
There are
good.
so many people coming from out
Yes.
of town,
Yes.
and
They
some of
slap
them,
an 806 on their truck, but are they really?
yeah, they get a storage building,
Yep.
get a 806 number, and act like they're from here, and they're here to help. Matter of fact, just Friday night, I had somebody knocking on my door from Longview, Texas, and he said, "I'm here to help." And I'm like, "Here to help from what?" "Well, you guys had a catastrophe." I said, "Well, it's over. We've got people that can
Yeah.
handle this right here in Lubbock." And, but, in our industry, in the roofing industry,
Yep.
there's a lot of people coming from out of town, and people like us, our family, and when I say my family is my crew too.
Yes.
We've
Yeah.
got 20 employees. There's
Wow.
20 families that
That's
rely on us.
That's right.
And, when you spend money with us, that's where it's going.
Well, and here's something. I'm a former CPA, so I literally I look at the world through dollar signs. And what you just said right there, I'm going to take a quick 30 seconds and help our listeners understand this, right? You've got 20 employees, and those 20 employees are getting a certain wage every single week, every single month, every single year. And guess where those dollars, you're writing a check to them, and they're taking those dollars, putting it into hopefully local banks, probably. But then they're spending the money on rent, on mortgages, on banks, on cars, on shopping, on food, on nail salons, on entertainment. And this is the remarkable cyclical trickle down effect
Exactly.
that having a local business with local team members that spend local just has this multiplier. Literally, it is an economic multiplier when you choose to emphasize and prioritize local. So
Absolutely.
I want people to know that. That's really, really key.
That's really important, and something that's dear to my heart is some of the places we're able to give to,
Yes.
when we do so well. We've been very successful over the last 4 years, and we've been able to give big. We thought we were giving big before, but now we're able to
Wow.
give in a
Okay.
in a way that really makes a difference.
That's great.
There's some places that are really important to us, like Malta Farms.
Yes. Yes.
Malta Farms is a
Tell people real quickly, because they're an incredible organization.
I love the place. Chad Everett out there,
Yep.
runs it, and he's a dear friend of mine. But it's basically a second chance for
Yes.
people coming out of bad situations, typically jail,
Yep.
and usually they have dependence problems on alcohol or drugs.
Yep.
And they're able to go there and learn about God, and they that's really the key.
Yes. Yeah.
The kick the habits, but the other thing about Chad is he's a hard worker, and he
Yes.
teaches people that maybe have never
That's right.
known that. They didn't have anybody to teach them
That's
how
right. That's
how
right.
to be a hard worker.
No modeling for
No
them.
modeling.
Yep.
And he's a great example of
Yes.
you work hard and you'll get results.
That's right.
So I love that.
Yep.
Multifarms is probably our biggest
Yep.
biggest thing. The Foundation, Shape Light, has a deal that goes through. It started out as fuel in schools. They were sending snack bags home with kids
Yep.
because there's a lot of kids that they don't have a meal in between.
Only food they eat is at that
At
school.
school.
That's right.
So it started out as that, and then through nurses and teachers, there's networks that identify these students, and in a way that doesn't pull them out or make them, doesn't single them out. They're able to find clothes for them,
Yep.
hygiene products, just basic needs. They just fill basic needs for students
That's
that
so good.
that don't have them.
Yep.
So I really I love that. There's so many different things. The Meals on Wheels, we're
Yep.
able to give
Yep.
a lot to them. I personally, my wife has worked for Ballet Lubbock since we moved here.
Oh yeah.
And she's taught tons of,
Oh man.
I say kids, now we've got,
Probably my daughters probably were there. Yes.
some of them are women now that have daughters.
Yeah.
But, she's taught, children for years and years. But over the last 3 years, she's working in the hospitals with Covenant and UMC Children's Hospitals. And she's working with the kids doing movement therapy and,
Yep.
and dancing with them. And a lot of them, most of these that she gets close to have very serious illnesses.
Yeah.
Because they're there a lot.
Yeah.
It's typically cancer. Cancer
Yeah.
is the most common. And it's amazing, that we can give back to that. Those families, by the time they fight cancer with their children, there's nothing left.
Yeah.
They put everything they've had into
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So that one's near and dear to
Yeah.
my heart. As a
Yeah.
matter of fact, this weekend we're going to be doing Clays for Kids out at the shooting complex,
man.
and we're one of the sponsors out there. And anyways, when you're giving to your local businesses,
Yeah.
we give back.
Yes.
And,
Yep.
and I love it.
Well, and I'm just going to again emphasize you've said so many great things that I think sometimes people know conceptually, but as you begin to literally put it as a little bit of an intentional priority in your life, what I'm stressing is the return back to you is way beyond what you think, and that is just the principle of generosity. The principle of because you don't have to, yes, it's a good thing to give to your community, but no one has to do it. No one's forcing you to do it. But what I'm just hearing coming out of you is there is so much life and reward and fulfillment and satisfaction in many, many different ways, financially, community. When you just say, you know what, we don't need to keep every penny here. We're going to be generous with our staff, with our team. We're going to be generous in our community. And I want people to hear this. When you choose those types of priorities, it's almost unbelievable to me how much more comes back in.
Absolutely.
And I think it's a very spiritual principle, certainly. But just even a practical principle. There's so many companies in town that I just hear them talking about their generosity and what they do, and I'm blown away. And so I'm going to ask this question, and then we're going to hit our rapid fire. Because of this just weather event, some people listening to us, I'm one of those, right? My daughters, we don't have a basement, and it's hitting the news. Go hit the basements, run. We don't even have an exterior. We don't have a room, a shelter room at all. We got windows all around our house, nothing like this. And so an aunt said, "Hey, we got a basement." And our girl's like, "Get to the basement, Dad." And I'm like, we're fine. And they're like, "Dad, don't leave us here." So we get in my wife's car, we drive there. So one night, sure enough, her car gets held out. So I have a held out car. I started a little Allstate claim a couple days ago. I haven't heard anything. Do I come to the shop? What do you recommend people to do for their cars, especially for an event like this? What's the right process? Wait for your insurance? Do I go to a Hub City body shop? Because I'm in that world right now.
Yeah. It gets really complicated because when they do have a catastrophe like this one that does so much damage, every insurance company work a little bit differently. Some of the larger ones will send in catastrophe teams.
Yep.
From all over the country. They'll bring 500 people in so they can start going to you
Yep.
and seeing you individually. So really, it's kind of a deal where you want to try to follow what the insurance company says to do.
Sure.
One thing that I'd like to bring up, and I'm glad that you asked that, because it's something that we're running into right now, and it goes into big insurance companies working with the big MS.
Yes. Yep.
It's called steering.
Yes.
And the insurance companies, it's not legal.
That's right.
To steer people to one of your
So when
shops.
they say, "Hey, there's a Caliber collision, there's a Crash Champions, a Gruber," I could hear that, but go, "Well, I want to go to Hub City Body Shop." So it's almost like I need to kind of put my foot down a little bit.
You absolutely do. And the things that I'm running across, this is something that has been really under my skin over the last couple of days, is we have longtime customers been coming to us for 15, 20 years.
Yep.
That are letting us know how hard it is to get to us.
Wow.
Because the insurance companies are telling them that they can't guarantee a warranty, that they may have to come out of pocket because we are going to charge them more than what the insurance company will pay. That's absolutely not true. What the problem is we know how to repair your car correctly.
Yep.
And we hold the insurance company
That's right.
to their feet to the fire and make them pay to do it correctly. So that is something where a customer just has to say, I know what's
Yes.
right. And I'm going to the City Body Shop.
I'm so glad you're saying this, because I've personally had several interactions with insurance companies and then third party, roofing, construction groups that are some of the most knowledgeable of like, no, you pay an insurance policy, and they won't imply to you what all that they have to do, but they've got a bigger standard, a bigger obligation, and you can hold their feet to the fire. So I think we as a consumer sometimes we're ignorant, we get a little intimidated by the first thing we hear from our insurance claims provider, when I think, to your point, we can be like, no, we can do this. So I'm glad to hear you stress that.
One thing along with that is, this day and age, a lot of the insurance companies are or a lot of people are getting their insurance online.
Yep.
They're not using local agents.
Yep.
The only person, and that this, I need to be careful how I say that, but really the only person that cares about you is your agent. If you get it online, you're going to be talking to some guy in some other town,
Some other country,
state, maybe even some other country that has a sheet that they're reading off of, and they don't know anything about you or care about you.
Yep.
Get a local agent.
Yep.
There's insurance agents, great
That's right.
insurance agents all over Lubbock. Bless their family. It's not a whole lot of difference, and they can probably save you money.
That's exactly right. So, and in the event that you have to walk through a claims, which can be stressful, can be just, it's hard. It's a lot lighter when you've got someone that can help walk you through that in that local agent. So that's great.
Absolutely.
Okay, we always wrap up our podcast, Dan, with our kind of rapid fire questions. So first thing that comes to your mind, I'd kind of mention off air a little bit, our company, Rise Energy, we focus really on the energy challenges, rising cost of energy contracts. I don't know if you guys had to navigate that when LP&L and ERCOT and deregulation and which energy provider and what cost and what plan. And it's just all chaotic. And we try to lessen all those complications. We do battery backups and solar and a lot of other things to just try to lessen the have you seen a rising cost of energy?
We have.
Yeah.
I don't know what Lubbock expected with the ERCOT thing. I think people thought, well, it's got to be cheaper than what we've already got. I don't think anybody's found that to be the case.
Well, if you lived in Dallas, you knew what that was like.
Oh, yeah.
You have already lived in that world.
Yeah. I lived in a very large home with 2 air conditioners, 2 heaters.
Yep.
And it was, energy was a big deal for us.
Yeah. No, that's great. So I'll ask this question. What's the most challenging part of running an auto business?
I care deeply about the business. I care deeply about the employees. So setting time away from the business is tough.
Yeah.
I live in it, and there's so much more. And as a matter of fact, this podcast, I was asked to do it, and I normally say no to just about everything.
Yep.
Stuck at the shop.
Yep.
And I thought, I've never done that before. I'm going to go do something different. And I'm glad that I did.
Good.
And but that's one of the hardest things is, but as far as business, I take every single customer very personally. So if anything doesn't go right, I mean,
feel it.
It scars me.
Yeah, you
I mean,
feel it.
we don't make mistakes very often, but when we do, boy, I want to make sure that that customer is taken
Yeah.
care of. And so, hey, you know, it's good to care about your
Yeah.
business, but sometimes it is overwhelming.
Yeah. Well, especially when there are times, unfortunately, that you do everything you can do, even if you make a mistake unintentionally, make up for that mistake, bend over backwards. There's just sometimes that people aren't going to feel satisfied in that. And that's hard.
It really
Because you
is.
do care. Like, what do I need to do? You need my third child? I'll do that too. Okay, next question. Do you have a favorite classic car to restore, to work on? What does that look like?
Well, we probably don't have time to go over my favorite job, but we did a 57 Chevrolet for a gentleman that it was his grandfather's 57. And it had been, they were from Hereford.
So it's been in the family.
It had been in the family for years. And his grandfather had put it up back in 1972 or something like that, put it in the barn, took the battery out, put it in a tractor, and it never moved since.
Wow.
So it sat in that barn. As that guy was a young man, he saw it, or even a child, saw it sitting there for all those years. And finally, his grandfather had passed away, and then his dad had passed away. And he asked the family, he said, that car's been sitting there for years and years and years. Do you guys care if I take it and do something with it? So he pulled it out of the barn, and it was actually in great shape.
Wow.
I mean, for sitting in a barn that long. And he brought it to Lubbock, and he started doing, engine work and transmission work and stuff like that first, which is smart. And his wife knew that she wanted to have it restored, wanted to have it painted, wanted it to look like it should. So she asked him to bring it up to us and have us look at it and give him a quote. Well, to do a restoration like that is very expensive. Yeah. And I told her it's going to be about $20,000. Yeah. And of course, his face dropped. He's like, there's no way. I'm not doing that. Yeah. I can drive it like this. Yeah. And he didn't know that she had been socking away money for several months. She had almost $10,000 set aside. And so they left, and he was kind of, a little down. But she called me after they left, and she said, Dan, I've got $10,000. What can we do for that? And I was like, I want to see that car back on the road. I want to see it looking like it should. I'll do it for $10,000. So I agreed to do it. We basically did it for cost, but it was a neat project. So I was willing to do it. So she told him, because they took it back to the transmission shop. She had the transmission shop guy tell him that his parts wouldn't be in for about 3 months. Just leave it here. I'll put it, in my shop, and it'll be safe. So we brought it over. He was done with it. Yeah. We brought it over to the shop, and we redid the entire car. And we were trying to get it done for his 40th birthday. Yeah. And we missed the deadline by 2 days. Oh, no. But he got up on his 40th birthday. He was not very happy. He had a backache, wasn't having a good day. And his wife said, hey, Dan called from the body shop and said that, he has a color he wants you to look at for the 57. And he was like, why would we even go look at that? We can't afford it. She said, well, he really wanted you to see this color. You mind? Let's just go by there. Okay, fine. So he was grouchy about it. And, she drug him out there. Anyways, he walked into our detail area, and we had the door to his vehicle, and they're being buffed. And I said, this is the color that I was talking about that we're putting on another 57 back here. And he said, oh man, that is perfect. That would be the ideal color for my car. And I was like, yeah, it really would. That's why I wanted you to see it. And I said, do you want to see the car? And he said, yeah, let's go look at it. So we walked into the body shop, and we had a few of his doors off and the grill off and different things. We were getting close to being done. Yeah. But he walked in, and he was like, wow, that is gorgeous. He said, man, mine could never look that good. And I was just sitting there going, okay. So he walked around it, and this car had some pretty unique interior. It wasn't anything that I'd ever seen before. And he walked around the corner, and he saw the interior, and literally tears just came down his face. He could not believe what he was seeing. And it was just so cool. The car came out perfect. It came out beautiful. But one of the coolest parts about it was, as we were taking it apart, it was like a time capsule. Oh, wow. There was like a Hereford high school homecoming program under the seat for one of his uncles that, and he was on the homecoming court and all that stuff. So we were able to pull that out. There was change. There was a little love letter from one of his 13-year-old aunts that was giving it to a boy, and toys that some of his aunts and uncles that had left in the car that they
sent in that
found.
barn.
So it was really cool. You know, that was a really cool project.
Man.
But 1967 Chevelle is my favorite. We've done a couple of them, and my dad had one when I was a kid. So whenever it's my turn, that's what mine's going to be.
That's so good. Man, what a great story. I love that. What is one tool in the shop couldn't live without?
Unfortunately, these days it's a computer.
It is a tool. It is a tool.
I miss the days when it was hammers and dollies and it was simple, but we can't fix a car without a computer anymore.
It's the devil you know and the devil you have to deal with sometimes.
Absolutely.
Isn't it?
These cars have become so complicated, so many safety systems.
Yep.
They're actually saying that this is going to put a dent in our industry because the cars are becoming so much safer. You know, the anticipation of wrecks, being able to avoid them and things. So we'll see if that, how that goes.
It may cause fewer, but there's still the complications in them, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's interesting. You kind of referenced this a little bit. How do you unplug if you can? How do you unplug and rest? What does that best look like for Dan?
Well, I spent, time with the family, but like my wife and I, we got to go on our first vacation by ourselves about 2 years ago.
Yep.
And I was very nervous because everything we had ever done all of our lives, since our kids were born, was about them.
Yep.
We went on vacation, it was about them.
Yep.
That's all we talked about. Everything was around them. All of a sudden, we were going to Cancun alone.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Who are you?
What are we going to talk about? What are we going to do? And it was wonderful. We figured out we still like each other.
Good.
And
good.
we had a great time. And here in 2 weeks, I am headed to Cancun again.
Sweet.
And that's what we do. We try to at least, once or twice we get to the beach. That's our happy place. And
because there's not really beaches around us.
No, we have to go somewhere.
And even, I'm glad there's some water in Texas, but even that kind of Texas Gulf beach is just not the same.
Yeah, we like Florida and we like Cancun.
Yeah.
So those are kind of go-to unplug. That's how I reset.
Yeah.
And I'm needing it. I'm ready for a reset.
Yep.
I'll get back and be charged up.
I think that's exactly it. And as human beings, we desperately need that. Sometimes we think we're machines and we can go forever. You can't. Got to have resets. So last question I always like to ask every one of our guests is what advice would you give the 20, 22, 25-year-old Dan?
That one's easy. That one's live in the moment.
Yeah.
Ever since I was, a young man when I started my roofing company and into this business, very into the business.
Yep.
And I take it very personal and I'm very driven. And I tend to always be looking at the next day, the next month, the next year. And that would probably be back then the biggest thing is stop, take it in, enjoy the moments because, man, those kids, I've got a 25 and a 22-year-old now. And that time flew by so fast.
Yep.
Luckily, one of the best things I ever, coming back to Lubbock, I was able to coach baseball teams.
Yes.
Things, soccer teams and things like that. Those were the best times. And I'm just glad that I lived in the moment during those times.
Yep. Well, I know I'll take that to heart because I was telling you, you've got a 15-year-old and I'm just thinking to myself, I've only got a few more months and I'm driving her to school or in that kind of capacity. And at times we complain about, I got to take my kids all over. And yes, but I'm also thinking I'm never going to have this kind of special time again. I'm going to enjoy every moment. So I take that to heart. How can people connect with you, Dan, or with Hub City Body Shops? What's the best way to reach you in all the various ways you can?
Well, you can always call. Come, 806-791-4689. You can come by the shop at any time.
Where are you located?
We are located at 5828 Spur 327, right in between the Bob Mills Furniture Store and Frank Brown Honda GMC.
Yep.
We just bought that property
That's
last August.
They used to be that van rental, truck rental place.
It was a car rental place, and
great
we
location.
We bought that property last August. It's been great.
Yep.
It's a great location. We just moved our offices from behind there up to the front.
Yep.
And our website, you can do a whole lot off of our website.
Yep.
www.hubcitybodysshop.com. You can get estimates. You can schedule estimates that way. You can send in for photo estimates.
Isn't it great now? People can do a lot of their own self tools.
Absolutely.
That helps everyone to be efficient. So
Absolutely.
And this has been so good. Thank you so much for joining us on the Rise Up podcast. And as always, if you need energy services, we kind of try to help, lessen the complications around energy contracts. And certainly we do a lot of things around energy assets, solar battery. We kind of now install free backup batteries on commercial customers. So something maybe to chat about. If you ever want some free backup batteries on site, and pay customers thousands of dollars a year.
Absolutely.
To have energy. So a lot of new fun tools. So that's us at Get Rise Energy or getriseenergy.com, our Instagram, website, whatever you want to hit us at. Until then, make it a great day. Thanks for joining us on the Rise Up podcast.